Good. All right. Anke Ma'at, everyone. So Anette. So glad you all are here. Thank you for joining us today. Let's fix this camera on the YouTube camera. I think that's better. Do you want me to turn this light out over on this side? Maybe that'll help. It helps a little. I'll give my eye, everyone. Thank you for being patient while we iron out our little technical difficulties over here. Yes, yes. Thank you for joining us today for our regularly scheduled communion. We're so grateful to be able to see you guys and to commune with you in this space and to continue to build community and support community and uplift one another virtually. While we're still undergoing, this ongoing situation and change in the world. So since today is our regularly scheduled communion, we will begin as we always do with our opening prayer, and then we will go into the roll call, share any announcements that we may have, and then we'll go into the lesson for today. Okay? So Duaneta, let's get started with our prayer by saying Amatu and Panatir, Sauek Tuament and Panatir, Audu Auma Keti Paheru. The translation is give yourself to Netta daily, keep yourself for Netta daily, and may tomorrow be as today. We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Netaru Ra, who is the light of the heavens, light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibility in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akaru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in the moments of crises, in the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down. So it is, and so shall it be.
Amen Ma'at.
Amen Ma'at. Ma'akaru. All right. So let's dive in now to our roll call. I saw a couple of you already sharing where you're logging in from and watching from. I think I saw Akron, Ohio on YouTube, and I know I saw one other one on YouTube. Let me see if I can get it up here. Here we go. New Rochelle. Shout out to New Rochelle. All right, so let's see. Checking in for the first time from the planet of Brooklyn. To our Nunter. Shout out Brooklyn. Wilmington, Delaware in the house. Indianapolis in the house. Newark, New Jersey in the house. Wait, I assume that's Newark, New Jersey. Maybe that's Newark, Delaware. Shout out to Newark. Shout out to both Newarks. Yes. Philadelphia's in the building. Anke Ma'at. Anke Ma'at, East Orange. Anke Ma'at, Flint, Michigan. Doanetta for joining us. Yes, yes. Yes. Some more Newark energy in the house. Atlanta energy in the house. Spartanburg, South Carolina energy in the house. Some more. Yeah, some more Pennsylvania. All right. That's what's up. That's what's up. Dua for sharing with us where you all are so we can feel a little bit more connected right now. Just so we, could just feel our energy spin out across the map, across the globe. We got Shaka from Erie, Pennsylvania. That's what's up. Do our answer. Good, good. All right. We're so grateful to be able to use this forum, these forums, because you guys know we're still dual casting, so we're on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, and we're so grateful to be able to use these forums to connect with our local and global community. So give thanks. Shout out Lincoln, Nebraska. Yes, yes. Shout out Plainfield, New Jersey. That's my baby sis, or my middle sis. No, not my baby sis, but yes, that's my sis. Okay. Yes, yes. All right, everybody. So, just one quick announcement I got time for. So I will share an announcement, which is that shortly, shout out to Chattanooga, Tennessee. You got in there right under the wire. All right. So in the next couple of days and weeks, we will start to announce the session titles for the Kemet in the Cloud conference. I'm super, let me tell you guys, like, I am so excited about the sessions that the initiates are putting together, the wealth of wisdom and information that they've accumulated over the years in their own personal walk, in their personal journeys, and they're taking the time now to put together meaningful conversations about how it is that they can impart that wisdom and share that insight and that information with many of you. So stay tuned to our Facebook page over the next coming weeks. If you're not following us on Facebook, you need to be following us on Facebook or on Instagram so that you can see what sessions are being planned for Kemet in the Cloud. I believe you're going to want to be a part of this event. Like, this is just going to be an opportunity to cover so many different topics from such a grounded and realistic perspective of like how it is that this information and how it is that this insight, this knowledge can be used. Like, how can you use it? How do you make your life better? Like, we're not just talking about history. We're not just talking about theory. Like, these are people who are using their what they know to enhance the quality of their lives, and they're going to share with you information that you can use to enhance the quality of theirs. I'm super excited about the sessions that they are putting together. I'm super proud of them and the work that they're doing. I'm so excited. I really want all of you, especially those of you who are really just coming to the legacy for the first time. I know so many of you are new to the legacy. Sometimes you don't know where to start. Sometimes you get so much conflicting information. Sometimes you sign up for a workshop and then you walk home and you like, that was nice, but like, what did I get out of that? Like, what am I supposed to do with any of that? Where do I go next? I don't even know what to do next. And we really want to make sure that what we're doing and what we're bringing in Kemet in the Cloud, it's gonna help you to feel like you know what to do next, like you know what to do now and you know what to do next, right? And gives you that foundation and that starting point for you to grow on as you figure out whether or not this legacy is for you and whether or not you are someone who wants to walk this walk. And for those of you who already want to walk this walk, this legacy, this conference is really just going to give you just even more solid foundation underneath you to build on, because your foundation, the foundation of your life, can never be too strong. You know, it's just going to secure you and hold you up, so when that hurricane and that storm comes through, there's nothing that's going to shake your faith. There's nothing that's going to shake you from walking the path of Maat. There's nothing that's going to tear that down for you. So we just want to make sure you have the strongest and most solid foundation for you, so you can succeed and prosper in the world as a Kemetic warrior should. So Kemet in the Cloud, Saturday, October 24th at 11 a.m. There's a Facebook event page. There's information about it on our website, templeofthenew.org. And then also, again, stay tuned to our social media, our Facebook and our Instagram pages, so that you can see the announcements as they come out, as they're released over the next couple weeks about the sessions and who is presenting what topics, okay?
Does it have a cost?
It does have a cost, an investment. I believe it's $18 per person. It is on Zoom. All of the sessions will be presented on Zoom. So anyone, anywhere can participate. So it's 11 a.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. But, no matter where you are in the world, since it's online, you can be there. You can participate. And again, more information will continue to be released over the next couple weeks. Follow our social media. Hit that you're coming on our Facebook event page, so you can get updates from there as well. Go to our website, etc. All right. And any questions that you might have about it, I'm sure we're going to answer in the next couple of weeks. But if we don't, always just reach out to us and we'll answer your questions as well. All right.
You already talking about communion.
I did not tell people about that. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know we were telling people that. All right. So this is actually going to be the last communion that we will be doing on the couch. So we're really, really excited that next communion we will be back at our regular home. We will be at Refal headquarters in Newark, New Jersey. Unfortunately, for the first communion, maybe even the first couple of communions, we will not be open to the public because of the restrictions of capacity that are in place in the state of New Jersey as far as the number of people that can be in the room. So we will still be live streaming for you guys from Refal, but it just won't look like this anymore. You know, we will be at Refal with some of our members coming together for communion. And as the restrictions shift and as things begin to shift, we will keep you guys apprised as to when things start to reopen and when we can allow some of you guys who are local to come be with us in person. But in the meantime, we will still continue to be live streaming, so please stay tuned to Facebook Live and YouTube Live. For those of you who cannot come in person or who live further away and who can't come in person. But just so you guys know, next communion is going to look a little bit different since we'll be back at Refal and in our traditional setup with Naswt standing at the podium.
There you go. It's time to get back to work. Let's get back to work. But anyway, so we'll go. I'll start by saying Yanawe, Ankh, Maat, and the Yiti, and Matep to all. I hope and I pray that all is going well as everybody starts to get back to work and acclimated to their so-called new normal. So one of the things I pray and that I affirm is that no evil be done to us in this land. That comes from one of the texts by asking or praying or suggesting or requesting from our creator or our spirit guides, whatever you may want to call them, that we may be protected from any evil within this land, because we all know as melanated folks, as black folks, whatever we want to call ourselves, evil has been done to us in this land by the police, by the so-called justice system, economically, and heck, even by some of our own people. So that is a practical thing to pray for, about evil not being done to you, whatever person, place, thing, or even a spirit being of the masculine or feminine persuasion. Because remember, this is a spiritual lesson. There's some social lessons in it, but it's still a spiritual lesson. So we're talking about protection from evil just across the board. So how do we do that? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to tease out, what does that mean? Because yes, you could pray, but there's your responsibility in the prayer also. You have to give your creator, you have to give your deity something to work with. You wasn't put here for God, or the so-called God or the creator to do all your work. So step number one that we're going to talk about is, may we live conscientiously. There's another quote in the text from the Pert Imheru. It says, I have not sinned against any God. That's how they translate it. So I know some people in our tradition got a problem with that word God, and it's okay, but we have newcomers all the time, and we have to speak to the level of the people. So we'll talk about layers of meaning. So we're not going to just go with one meaning. We're going to go with layers of meaning. So for the beginners, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And for those who already know what I'm talking about, hopefully I can expand your understanding, because truth always has many layers to it. So it says, I have not sinned against any God. So those from the Judeo-Christian and Islamic persuasion be like, oh, that sounded like there's many gods out there, since it said, I have not sinned against any God. So in our tradition, that thing that they all call God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, all of those names, all of those are just attributes. Those are not really names. They're just attributes to describe this thing that's really totally beyond our comprehension. That's all a holy book is, a religious book is just attempts at describing something that is really unknowable. at least objectively. So we call that thing that everybody else calls God, we say necher or netter. Some say unter or necher. So what does that mean, or what does that relate to us in the traditional African spirituality? It means force. It means a force, a power, or a principle that's responsible for maintaining life as you know it. So let's go back to that. It says, I have not sinned against any God for the Christians. I have not sinned against any necher for the traditionalists. So let's go. I have not sinned against any power or principle that's responsible for maintaining my life, because we understand that anything that's considered a power or principle that overlords over you, that is responsible for your life, that is that is an explanation of the idea of what a God is. So everybody's, whatever you think is Allah, Yahweh, Shai, Jehovah, everybody believes that thing or that being, that entity, that consciousness is totally responsible for our lives or existence, period. So that's what netter is. That's what a netter is. So let's take it again. I have not sinned against any God. I have not sinned against any netter. I have not sinned against any force that is responsible. I have not sinned against any power or principle or force that is responsible for maintaining my life as I know it. Y'all understand? Sometimes we got to repeat it. Sometimes we have to be redundant, because sometimes we get to speaking and we start speaking high spiritual concepts like we're talking about the football game or something. And then next thing you know, when we're walking away from the conversation 3 days later, you forgot what we spoke about. So certain things we just have to say over and over till it sinks in, because we're talking subtle layers of understanding. So I have not sinned against any netter. So we're clear. We comprehend that. At least we think we comprehend that. And by experience with human beings, we often use words that we don't really know the meaning of. So therefore we're sometimes inclined to use words out of context. Like I hear people play with the word religion and spirituality. They be like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And be like, okay, what's the definition of spirituality? What is the definition of religion? And you see both, eventually when you start really looking into the definition of both, they start becoming interchangeable. So, I have not sinned against any netter. So, what is the definition of the word sin? What is our understanding of the word sin? Once again, from our Judeo-Christian background, sin means to go against. So people consider sinning evil. It means to go against. But sin, the actual word sin, is actually a Greek archery term. So in archery, you got to hit the bullseye. So that bullseye is actually the Greeks borrowing from ancient Kemetic culture. That bullseye is the symbol for Ra. Yeah. So it's a circle with a dot, or a circle or another circle within the center, and your goal is to shoot your arrow to hit that mark. So in our culture, that circle with that center represents God, represents the creator, represents the divine force that exists within us. So the sun for us is a metaphor of creator. It is a metaphor of the creator within, which some call the higher self.
Yeah.
So now what is a sin? A sin is when you miss the mark. So when you don't hit the bullseye, you miss the mark. So remember, the bullseye represents something as a circle, represents something that is complete, something that is whole. That is people normal understanding what they believe the creator is, a consciousness, a deity, or being that is complete and whole. It is believed that doesn't need anything from us. So when you miss the mark, that is considered a sin. So a sin is to be off center. So now go back to it. So I have not sinned against the nature of, I have not sinned against any netter. So I have not missed the mark against any, I have not missed the mark against any creative force that is responsible for maintaining my life. Let's go again. I have not been off center. I have not missed the mark. I have not been off center to any force that is responsible for maintaining my life. So now let's expand, or let's play with the definition of God. We'll say the sun is a force that's responsible for maintaining your life, because without the sun, you would die. We would die, all of us. Air maintains our life as we know it. Without the air, we would die. The earth, without the earth, we would die. And they'll say ether, or without spirit, is where we all come from. So without that element, all other elements come from it. Without that, we'll die. I know some people will say, well, I worship a creator, y'all worship creation. So I worship the creator of the creation. In African spirituality, there's no separation between the creator and creation. That's how the creator knows all your thoughts, because he exists within you as you, not in a separate location. When they start speaking about the creator in separate locations, that's all metaphoric language. So when you come into spirituality and religion, you have to understand the science of metaphor. That's the real arguing points with all religion, is how people are choosing to interpret metaphors. And people come to different understandings with different metaphors. For instance, the Christians have the book of Revelation. It's a book of straight metaphors. No Christian could agree with that book of Revelation is about, because it's a book of metaphors. It becomes very difficult or challenging to read that book and try to determine what should be taken literal and what is metaphor. Some people take the metaphor literal, and certain people don't. They do vice versa. So let's go back. So the sun, the water, air, earth, all of that represents divine forces that have maintained life as we know it. So the creator, there aren't really creators. Everything is expression of the one creator. So the creator could duplicate itself. The creator could expand itself. The creator could make itself awaken in its creation, because there's no separation. Just like I come from my mother and my father, I come from them. They exist within me. But yet at the same time, I'm a whole separate entity. They be like, you look like your mother, you sound like your mother, you look like your father when you did that. So that presence is always going to be there. That's why they say we are our ancestors. Right. A lot of our proclivities and our inclinations come from people thousands of years back, 2,000 generations back, who we are and who all those people are alive in us right now. Right. So I have not sinned against any force that is responsible for maintaining life as I know it. So how do you sin against the sun? That sounds crazy. Like, how do you sin against the sun? And that's an interesting question, and it's an interesting response. Actually, since March, the powers that be, the government have tried to get us to sin against the sun with quarantine. Remember, they told us to stay inside. Us as melanated folks, black folks, we're people of the sun. We're people of the light. Our civilizations come from outside. Most of our civilizations develop from spending 8 to 10 hours in the sun every day. So here we have this Western culture saying, go inside, don't come out, wear a mask. That's how you sin against the sun, because the sun is the source of stimulation and the primary source of energy on the planet Earth. That's why astronauts have trouble out in space, because they're in these isolated containers. So they're not getting electricity from the sun. They're not getting magnetism from the Earth. They're kind of just floating. So there's no stimulation. There's no true energy and information from food, light, and natural sources to tell their body to do what it's supposed to do naturally. That's why astronauts start slowly degenerating. So you need a relationship with nature. African spirituality is about staying close to nature as possible. Western civilization is about disconnecting from nature as much as possible. Go inside, turn on your air conditioning, turn on your heat, get on your iPhone, social media, so now you're not out there in the world anymore. Everything is about obsessing about being inside. Right. So the sun is a source of energy for us. That's why we have melanin in our skin. We have this, we always go over this lesson. Melanin, the color in our skin, is responsible for transducing light. Transducing light means transforming light from one form of energy into another. So melanin transduces light, takes light and changes it into forms of energy which the body needs. So melanin contains light into food. It can change light into nutrition for the body. So melanin, in its sense, as a form of metaphor, melanin metaphorically could be considered magical, because it turns light into food. So now you see what it's saying about How to sin against the sun is when you cover up your body and when you stay in the house, so you don't let that sun feed you. So part of being in tune is sunbathing and sun gazing. We come from cultures where we had 8 to 10 hours in the sun. Now they're trying to say it's healthy to get just 10 minutes of sun. Like, no, we come from a culture 8 to 10 hours in the sun, and they're saying 10 minutes is enough. The minimum black folks should get in the sun is 2 hours. But once again, we're in Western culture, that's almost impossible for most people. So I would still encourage you to get that 10 to 20, but ideally, we need at least 2 hours a day. And then you have this art and science of sun gazing. You're only supposed to look at the sun for moments at a time anyway, not like long periods of time, because it could do some nerve damage and stuff. Remember, the idea of everything is interconnected. I don't know if y'all heard of iridology and reflexology. So there's reflex points in the hand where it can stimulate activity in the rest of your body. There's reflex points in your foot that can stimulate activity in the body. In the eyes, all the nerves in the optic nerves and all the nerves, the retina, the cornea and stuff in the eye. When you look at the sun, remember the sun is the major source of energy, the primary source of energy on the earth. So when you look at the sun and get that energy in your eyes and start affecting your pineal, your pituitary and your hypothalamus gland, that is known as your hormonal bridge. So once those things get stimulated, everything else in the body gets its information and its charge and its directive to do what it is supposed to do. So the sun is healthy for your hormones. So now look at it again. I have not sinned against the sun, meaning I got my food. So now that makes you look at African spirituality, African culture, indigenous cultures, which white folks or other folks said was savage because they wasn't totally covered up. They were like, oh, these people are savage. Like, no, they wasn't savages. They were prepared. They were preparing themselves to eat. Having a body open was a form of preparing to eat and get direct energy and information from the sun. That's why a lot of so-called indigenous cultures didn't have a lot of holy books and stuff. So if there's no separation between the creator and creation, and you're living as natural and organic as possible with creation, you're more in tune with the creator than somebody that's up in the temple somewhere reading holy books.
Right.
So how do you sin against the air? By not having proper respect for the air pollution, electromagnetic pollution, and most of all, importantly, not breathing properly.
Right.
Breathing itself is a science that needs to be taken serious. You could Google it, you could go online, there's online course. That's why there's this big craze about yoga, meditation, and things like that. It really all starts with the breath. So the breath or air is not just about oxygen, it's about photons. Remember, light energy, photons, electrons, and the neutrons in the air. When you breathe those things in at specific ratios, you could then have you then control or impact or influence a certain level of activity in the body. So you need air, or air is necessary for improved functioning of the body. Now we have earth. I have not sinned against the earth. Now, our master teachers and our healers often, it's Dr. Sebi specifically, he taught us that we need 103 minerals to maintain normal functioning of the body. They said there's 118 elements on the periodic chart or the periodic table where our bodies are of the earth. I think just about every religion says we come from the earth. So we got to consider that periodic table of 119 elements. According to our master teachers, they say we need at least 103 minerals to sustain normal, healthy bodily functioning. So now I challenge you all to look at the nutritional capacity of the foods that you're eating. Most people's diets are just way too limited. Like we eat for taste instead of functionality. Most people's diets are way too limited. Over here in the Western Hemisphere, they're only concerned with 7 minerals. Remember, I said you need 103 minerals over here in the West, which pretty much governs the world, how everything is done in the world. The rest of the world is kind of following the West in how we go about living life, how we go about food. So the West is only concerned with 7 minerals because you only need 7 fundamental minerals to make the soil be able to bring forth life. 7 fundamental minerals. That's cool, but life is more than just those 7 minerals. That's foundational, that's fundamental. You need 103. So now look at your nutritional chart of the things that you're eating. Look at the nutritional chart of or the nutritional makeup of an apple or any of your foods, whether no matter how healthy you think it is, look at its nutritional chart and do you see if you get 103 minerals. Remember, you need minerals to produce enzymes. Your enzymes are responsible for all biological processes in your body. Yeah. So if you lack minerals, then you're going to lack enzymes. You lack enzymes, you're going to lack proper information and stimulation for your body to do what it is that it's supposed to do. So you got to get at least a supplement that has at least 88 minerals. According to Master Teacher Dr. Sebi, he says to get Irish moss or sea moss. Sea moss has 93 minerals just by itself. It's interesting. He says mix it with bladderwrack. Bladderwrack has the other 7 that the sea moss doesn't have. But notice that both of these things come from the sea. So that's a connection between spirituality and science that we could agree on. They were saying all life comes from the sea. Most religious texts talk about the creator at the beginning was the spirit that moved upon the face of the water. So it's this metaphoric language that all life comes from water. So here we have this sea moss and here we have this bladderwrack. Sea moss has 93 minerals, bladderwrack has 7. Then you can add burdock, sea moss, bladderwrack, and burdock, and then you got all 103 minerals right there. Then you have ether that represents spirit. How can you sin against spirit? Through an African spirituality, you get in touch with spirit through divination, through philosophy, and through discipline and instructions on how to listen to spirit.
Yes.
So to sum it up, sinning is missing the mark on any and all of these. So missing the mark on your connection with air, your connection with sun, your connection with earth, and connection with water, and your connection with spirit. The consequences of this is failing health and a lack of peace of mind. And most people they strive so hard to take supplements to improve their health, but the science and the science and the basis and the foundation of health is peace of mind. So we have to get that peace of mind before you try to get your health together, or I'll say have peace of mind in conjunction as you try to get your health together. So for us, there is no spirituality. In African spirituality, there is no spirituality without a true and authentic connection with nature. I repeat, there is no spirituality without a true and authentic connection with nature. So if you honor your connection with nature with a sense of veneration and respect, you will always be the victor instead of the victim.
True.
So we have to then investigate all of the excuses people have to not develop a relationship with nature. So this is one of the benefits of the quarantine. So people, when they did do the quarantine at first, everybody stayed in the house, and at certain points, some people had to get rebellious. Some of us had to get bold, like, I'm going outside. I see people running. Yeah, I was seeing people running. I'm seeing people running with the masks and stuff. They just knew that they had to get out. They needed that stimulation. Even just the stimulation, you saw the difference in your health and your well-being. When you stayed in the house, you're like, okay, a week, 2 weeks, you're like, oh, this is getting crazy. There's even decent stimulation from going from your house to the car to the store to like at least you was out getting some fresh air. But to stay boxed in the artificial reality that starts tugging at your sanity. Maybe what's going on in society is because the disconnect from nature. Remember, if there's in the African spirituality, the disconnect from nature is a disconnect from the creator. So if you're living in these artificial realities that's disconnecting from nature, you're slowly but surely losing your sanity. So you have a significant portion of our society that's functionally insane because they live artificial lives. So think of all the people that work in the city. What floor was your office on?
48th floor.
She said the 48th floor. So remember I talked about the astronauts, how they out in space and they're in this cylinder and they getting no natural light, no magnetism from the earth. They're eating artificial food. So here she is, she goes to work and she 48 stories up in the air. So she's literally off the earth. Significant portion, like 8 to 10 hours. We supposed to get light 8 to 10 hours a day. So you got people off the earth 8 to 10 hours a day. Then on top of that, we wearing rubber soles on our feet. So the rubber insulates against energy, insulates against electricity. So now we're protecting ourselves even further. So we're fortifying ourselves even further against nature. Is there a wonder why everybody's walking around tired? They be like, I'm eating right, I'm taking you. Like, you can eat right, but if you're not getting proper natural organic energy, all of that's just secondary forms of energy. So that's why we do a yearly retreat to force ourselves to acknowledge that. We do a yearly retreat of 4 days in nature doing our thing. And then people have excuses. Oh, I can't make it. You're like, fine, you can't make it, but at least are you going to the park? Right. At least are you sitting out in the grass, sit under a tree? You know, just basic things like that. Because if you fail to do basic things like that, now you're guilty of sinning against any God. You see how it's easy to go from thinking you're innocent to unconsciously sinning. In our system, there's no excuse for not knowing. Your whole life needs to be about knowing what it is that you're supposed to know. They say, oh, water's too expensive. So you got people drinking cheap water, or the worst type of water, whether, what they call it, tap water from the faucet, or they drinking these off-brand labels of water, which is really just tap. And then you find out that it's acidic, and acidic water is not beneficial to the body. So, like, damn. So now, when I'm drinking cheap water, I'm sinning against God.
Right.
I'm sinning against a force that's responsible for maintaining my life.
Right.
So I got to drink the best water.
Right.
So you need to get that alkaline water, not just because it's alkaline. The alkaline water supports hydration. And remember, water is necessary, one of the necessary fundamental minerals that's responsible for the proper functioning of the body. Diet. Some people are like, I can't afford to eat right. I can't afford to get those supplements. So what happens, they go towards convenience. Diet or convenience. Or if I was a Rastafarian, I would say to live it. You know, they don't like the word die in it, so they the live it. Live it or convenience. So usually when we go with convenience, it's usually something unhealthy. So now we're talking about empty calories. Remember, is any of the convenient foods you eat, does it have 93 minerals? Does it have 103 minerals? How many vitamins it have in it? So now we're eating to satisfy our taste buds. We're not even, people like, I'm satisfying my stomach. Your stomach ain't satisfied. The body's not satisfied. You were eating from emotions. You were trying to medicate yourself from emotions. So wrong diet, empty calories, empty food. So what happens when you eat empty foods? Remember, the fruits are up high in the tree. They're getting electricity and stimulation directly from the sun. Who did we say the sun is? The sun is the primary source of life on this planet. And then the vegetables are coming from the earth. They get magnetism from the earth. Where does the earth get the energy for its magnetism? From the sun. It is the sun that's stimulating the earth to circulate. I'm gonna get in trouble with the flat earth. The earth don't circulate, brother. It's a flat plane. You're like, whatever.
The dome.
The dome. So, all right. So food that you're not getting, the food that you're not getting that has electricity or magnetism, it becomes artificial. It becomes man-made. Our health is always jeopardized when we go with man over deity, man over nature. So of course, natural spring water is better than the tap water. They're trying to imitate nature. Sometimes they get it right, and most times they don't. So empty food, empty calorie means there's no intelligence in that food. Remember, There's intelligence / information. That's what we're calling nutrition. Intelligence and information of that plant or that fruit. So you're eating food with no intelligence and no information. So you put that in the body. There's no directive. There's no stimulation. Eating foods with no direction, no stimulation is gonna go towards degeneration. There's no life. So the body don't know to stay alive because it ain't being told, because it's not eating things that's connected to the earth. So eating foods that's live, it has information, it has intelligence, it's passing on directive. So empty foods equals degeneration, living foods equals regeneration or progeneration. Some people say, oh, I forgot to breathe. Some people, you be like, yo, breathe, take it easy. They be bugging to breathe. So nobody should have to remind you to breathe. So when you have to be reminded to breathe, that means you wasn't respecting breath. So when you don't respect the breath that's responsible for maintaining your life, then that point you're off center. You missed the mark. You're sinning against God. So it's quite different than the regular religious approach about what's a sin. They got some deity or some God on the throne pontificating, just staying pissed off about you, about how you forgot the rules or whatever. This way you see exactly what happens to you when you miss the mark. Mm-hmm. And it's going to affect your state of mind. It's going to affect your quality of life, your state of being. Now, with the earth, some people say, well, you got to be careful with those herbs. When they say that, you're like, okay, be careful with the herbs. So when you say be careful with the herbs, does not translate as don't study herbs and don't take herbs. So if you don't know what you're doing, then you seek out a qualified practitioner or professional about what it is and what it is and how you're supposed to approach the herbs to maximize and optimize your quality of health. So all of those things, as common as they are, earth, water, fire, air, ether, all of those things, common as they are, we spoke about these things in natural ways. You already knew it. But as common as they are, it is the uncommon application of those things that make a world of difference between sinning and not sinning. So yeah, you now getting light means something different. Now you understand there's a certain type of water you need to drink. Now you understand there's a requirement of your food instead of just filling your belly, instead of just counting calories. But that's what people do. So they either into filling their belly or they're counting calories and they're not looking at the nutritional potential of the food. So the uncommon application of these things make a world of difference. So what does that mean? And it is not up to me to further elaborate on that. It's up to you to further investigate. It's up to you to further experience what it is that I suggested to you. It's up to you to demonstrate that. What they say in our tradition, in order to know the truth, you need to live it. Or else you're just a philosopher. In order to know the truth, you must live it, or else you're just a philosopher. It's not just about talking the talk, it's also about walking the walk. Yes. So as I started out at the beginning, I said in this quarantine, as we're coming out of it, starting to now negotiate or renegotiate what we believe to be is our new normal. Now, some people are going to take some people are going to keep some of the habits that they got from quarantine because some of it was healthy. Like, so you mean to tell me a lot of people wasn't washing their hands several times a day at least, So now people are up on their hygiene and, like technically, traditionally, when you come home, you're supposed to take your shoes off at the door. You're supposed to actually change your clothes and go take a shower and stuff. So it just kind of made people reprioritize some basics in life that might have got them off center. Or some basics in life that the distractions of our lives got them off center, therefore causing us to be sinners. So there's two mentalities of people coming out of this quarantine. Some people are still scared, so they're wearing the mask, the gloves, and that's cool. They are making it law. They're making it law to be scared. That's what's happening. They're making it law to try to program fear in you. You won't get serviced if you're not acting scared according to them. Fine. So some people say, well, that's arrogant. So what we're talking about is a certain measure of boldness that's required in this life. We're talking about boldness and spirituality. Remember, I said may not sin, may not evil happen to us in this land, and I say how we go about that is by not sinning against any God. So that's going to require a certain amount of boldness in your spiritual practice, because there's too much cowardice that goes on in religion and spirituality these days. That's why there's a mass migration of people leaving church, leaving temples, because they're expecting something, when in reality we have to just be real. Most people are cowards. They want some type of divine force doing all the work. So they don't want any path or any religion, anything that's requiring work of them. So they're challenging deity, they're challenging God, they're challenging the divine. Be like, I'm not gonna believe in you, I'm not gonna acknowledge you till you make everything in my life right, with no effort on my own. So you got people praying to God to get a job. You got people praying to God to protect them from this situation. You got people praying to God to heal them. When in reality, if you were paying attention to your God, he already gave you those tools to protect yourself, to get your own job, to heal. Because remember, religion is a school. Religion is psychology. Yeah. All spiritual paths are teaching you how to protect yourself spiritually. All spiritual paths is teaching you how to heal. If you're paying attention, every spiritual path has different dimensions of teaching. So you might not get it if you're one of those superficial people that go to church or the temple or the mosque for social reasons, because you want to be seen going, but you're not actually paying attention. And there's that running joke about falling asleep in church, falling asleep in mosque, meaning it's an empty ritual. So if you go and falling asleep with the empty ritual, what are you leaving with? So the information went over your head because you were just an empty, you were more like a hologram. Meaning like your body was there, but your mind was on the game. You already thinking about what you eating after church, eating after temple and stuff, and you're not really there for those real reasons. So your deities gave you that knowledge on how to navigate this. So what I'm saying is a certain amount of boldness that you're supposed to have with your spirituality. There's a certain level of leverage your spirituality is supposed to give you in this world. And if not, what the heck is it all about? I know some religions train people to prepare for the other world. Like we're trained for both. Right. Like we want it all. We want it all here, and we want the afterlife too. In our tradition, we were taught that we are successors of deity on earth. So this is what we're going to tease out. To be successors of deities on earth, you have to accept full responsibility for everything. So if he made us, he or she made us successes, that means we were equipped to run this thing. So there could be no cowardice in your spirituality. Everybody, that's why men don't come to spirituality, because it seems too passive. It's like, oh, I gotta suffer and I'm waiting for God, and it just seems like God ain't answering nobody's prayers, and the excuse for God ain't answering prayers is they're trying to sell you that, oh, you're gonna get yours in the afterlife. That ain't a good stuff. Because now there's no proof of the afterlife. Nobody's coming back from the afterlife because they told you gotta wait to get there. So nobody's coming to verify, like, yo, it's real. You're gonna be straight. Don't worry about that stuff. So let's get into the person. Let's see. Page 105. I'm gonna big up Kheper. Put me up on this particular text. I said, oh, I'm gonna use that for communion. On 105.
To there. Where?
Bear with us real quick. Now the next page. All right. Just read through it real quick, and then we're gonna go through it.
All right. This is we're reading from the Hosea. This passage itself comes from the Re'unu Pertim Heruim Ger, which is better known as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, also known as the Book of the Dead. I'm reading from page 107, paragraph 5. Yes. I come forth triumphantly against my enemies. I split the heavens and open up the horizon. I travel across the earth on the heels of my enemies. I cause the glorious and great ones to come to me, for I am equipped with words of power. I eat with my own mouth and chew with my own jaw, for I worship Neter in heaven, and I am given that which endures in the midst of things which are overthrown. Stand back from my path, for I am one with Ra, coming forth across the horizon against his enemy, who shall not be rescued from me. I have stretched out my hand as Lord of the crown of Upper Kemet. I lifted up my legs as one who hurries the dawn. My enemy shall not escape me. Indeed, he shall fall before me. He has been given to me and shall not be rescued.
That right there is a personification of boldness, spiritual boldness. That's a person who was totally confident in their connection with deity, that was
Yes.
totally confident in their instructions from deity,
Yes.
who was totally confident in the protocols that they were given.
Yes.
So we're going to go through it sentence by sentence. So what's the first sentence again?
I come forth triumphantly against my enemies.
I come forth triumphantly. So it's saying, with the right frame of mind, I'm victorious in advance. Did y'all hear that? That's how I come triumphantly against my. So it's like they came winning before they already got it.
Started.
Yeah. Remember, the war is really in your mind.
Yeah.
The physical plane is the last plane of manifestation. So all of the stuff that's happened on the physical has already been conceptualized in the mental, in the spiritual. So with the right frame of mind, I'm victorious in advance over anything, person, place, circumstance, or spiritual being, whether that be male, whether it be female, white, or black, whatever you want to call it. Let's go.
I split the heavens and open up the horizon.
I split the heavens and open up the horizons. So now this is like Revelations. We're talking a metaphoric language. This is not talking about dead folks. This is talking about living folks. This is telling you their philosophy, how they live their lives, and why you was able to go to the afterlife with that type of confidence, because you live with confidence. So I split the heavens open upon the horizon. So we're talking about heavens, talking about higher consciousness. The horizon represents your connection, your body's connection with those other planes, those other dimensions, your ability to traverse the dimensions conscientiously, your ability to make the necessary shifts, changes, and transformations. Is that clear?
2.
All right, let's go.
Okay. I travel across the earth on the heels of my enemies.
I travel across the earth on the heels of my enemies. So in this tradition, you don't always let enemies slide. So it's saying that you built for that work. You remember I was talking about people that's cowardice in their tradition. They think gods or their ancestors are supposed to protect them from life. And it's like, no. If you really about it, you're about their life. It's like you don't run. You don't cower. What you're a part of makes you one of the most powerful people or beings on the planet. So you're a spiritual warrior. So you don't run from adversity. You don't avoid adversity. You actually lean into it. You actually encourage it. So since we're talking about the so-called Book of the Dead, which is the Reyu Pert Imheru Imgur, which is the chapters of coming forth by day from the night. The chapters are coming into higher consciousness from lower consciousness. The chapters are coming into the light or into consciousness from ignorance. Remember, those are all different layers. That's all just in the title. So if that's all that you got, those layers just in the title, there's always several meanings throughout the rest of the text. It's never just what it is that you're reading on the surface. So Pert Im Heru, the principle of Heru. Heru for us is also a deity concept. It is the hero concept, is where you get the word hero from. The hero principle, check it out now. We said we're going to tease this out. The hero principle is only relevant with the presence of adversity. I'll repeat. The hero principle, the Heru principle, is only relevant with the presence of adversity. So adversity represents Set, represents Satesh. So you need a Satesh in order to create a Heru. So without adversity, the Heru principle cannot be activated. So without a problem Without adversity, there's be no superheroes. That's what Batman, Superman, they there to fight evil as well as subdue evil.
Right.
So if there was no evil, no adversity, there would be no purpose for superheroes. But that hero comes from hero, and you need adversity. Go ahead.
I see a lot of confusion in the chat real quick about where we're reading from, so I will reiterate. We are reading from the Hosea. We are on page 107, paragraph 5. Okay? I cause the glorious and great ones to come to me, for I am equipped. I cause the glorious and great ones to come to me, for I am equipped with words of power.
I cause the glorious and great ones. That word in Metoneta is Iaku. It means the ancestors. It means the enlightened ancestors. Iaku means light. It means the enlightened ancestors. It says, I cause the enlightened ancestors, the great ones, to come to me. He didn't pray. So it's talking about living a high vibrational life where your ancestors, your spirit guides, the deities show up for you because you're living on code, you're living on frequencies. It says, I am equipped, for I am equipped with words of power. The word equipped is Ak. Remember, you got Iaku, that's plural, light beings, ancestors. It said, for I am an Ak, so that's singular. So I am equipped, I am a light being. Your ancestors, the beings, are showing up for you because you are one of them. There's that saying, you are your ancestors. You are the ones that we've been waiting for. So it says, I am an Ak. I am equipped with Hekau, words of power. Most people say that spells, they say that's words of power. They're talking about ceremonies that allow you to have access to extraordinary power. Ceremonies that allow you to have access to extraordinary power. We translate that as spiritual authority. So I am equipped with spiritual authority. Go ahead.
I eat with my own mouth and chew with my own jaw.
I eat with my own mouth and chew with my own jaw. I like that. That's telling you got to grow the heck up.
Yeah.
You got to be an adult. You have to grow up spiritually. Yes, we're all children of the Most High Creator, the Most High Father, Mother, Creator, but you don't stay children.
Right.
There is something wrong, something organically wrong. What do they call that? I think they call that dwarfism, like in regular life, dwarfism, when something happens in your body, you fail to grow up in a normal organic way. So we're talking spiritual
like the Peter
dwarfing.
Pan syndrome.
Was he a dwarf?
No,
but he didn't ever want to grow up.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Politically
correct thing. Okay.
But it is, like you said, politically correct. It is what it is. Like, it has a definition. It's scientific. And then that's not to disparage anybody that's experienced that. We can have that type of conversation with the spiritual implications behind that. I don't run from difficult conversations sometimes. That's why I say you got to be grown. I'm a grown. I eat my own food with my own jaw. You have to do the same. Matter of fact, we're going to get into that now. So it's telling you got to grow up. Stop being so scary. Babies need their food chewed by their parents before it gets put in their mouth. So it's saying, handle what's on your plate. Handle your karma. Take responsibility for your life. Eat with your own mouth. Chew with your own jaw. Y'all got it? How do we do that? It just said, I am equipped with Hekau. I am equipped with spiritual authority through ceremonies that allow me to have access to extraordinary power. African spirituality is not passive. African spirituality is proactive. So we have ways of finding out what a thing is, why it's happening, and what I could do to further keep myself in alignment. You're not waiting for anything. Certain things you might have to endure, but you were given the power to have a say-so. In one of the texts it says, Atum says the universe will not be complete until man has played his part. Remember, we're the successor. We are the reflection of the divinity on earth. So we have a part to play in establishing harmony upon the earth. So let's go.
For I worship Neter in heaven, and I am given that which endures in the midst of things which are overthrown.
For I worship Neter in heaven, worship God in heaven, worship the divine force in heaven, worship all of that in heaven. That means I live a high vibrational life. So heaven is elevated states of thinking, elevated states of being. So netter, divine force, in my relationship with the divine force, my relationship with deity is always in the forefront of my mind. And this is the problem for most people. They want to get into making their money. They want to get into their relationships, falling in earth. This is charting you, saying I worship God or the deity or the nature in heaven. Keep it in the forefront of your mind. So what this is it's requiring you to be a mystic. I don't know if y'all understand what a mystic is. A mystic is one who's seeking unity or absorption with the divine. So this right here is telling you to be seeking unity and absorption with the mind by keeping it in the forefront of your mind. So some people think there needs to be some separation between their spiritual practice and everyday living. Mysticism is living life in a way where you seek truth beyond intellect. I repeat, being a mystic is seeking truth beyond intellect. Some people are requiring definitions and explanations of every little thing. A mystic is going to have this authentic relationship with creation, and some things we can explain and some things we won't be able to explain. The things that we're not able to explain, just because we're not able to explain does not mean that they're not real. The things that you may not be able to explain might just be there for you to experience, for you to verify your connection with source, because you're a different person. You have a different biological makeup. Your nervous system is wired different. So I can't expect a SETI or Maakra to experience what I experience when they might eat different. They breathe different. Their nervous system is wired different. It might take them a different set of circumstances to experience this reality. So just because you could explain it is not the only qualifier of truth. So that is the essence of mysticism. It's about experiencing divinity, experiencing the divine, not just reading about it and quoting it from books, because some religions and traditions are stuck just following the letter and they miss the spirit of the letter.
Yes.
So it says, stand back. Go start with that one.
Yep. Stand back from my path, for I am one with Ra.
Okay, we'll start with that. Stand back from my path, for I am one with Ra. That is boldness. Tell me, step back. I'm one with Ra. I am one with God. Remember, Ra's symbol is the circle. It represents wholeness. Meaning I'm on point. Move out my way. I'm living unapologetic. Move out my way. It means I'm bold. Boldness is not arrogance. Arrogance kind of indicates some type of insensitivity to the feelings of others. Boldness is operating in knowledge. Knowledge and application. So I have knowledge and I know how to apply what I know to secure my health. So I'm not being insensitive to you. I know what I'm doing to secure my health, to secure my money. And because you don't know, it might seem like I'm arrogant, but I'm following code, I'm following law. Boldness is being impervious to distraction, being impervious to projections of the limiting thoughts of others. That's why we say Amatu in Panetir, Sawek tu in Panetir. Audwa ma Keti Paharu. The translation is what?
Give yourself to Netta daily. Keep yourself for Netta daily and do it tomorrow as you do it today.
And how is that done? By not sinning against any nature. Again, go ahead.
Coming forth across the horizon against his enemy, who shall not be rescued from me.
That's interesting. Coming across the horizon, remember, across your connection, or coming into awareness of your connection between self and deity, where they say when you discover self, you encounter God. Discovering self, you encounter your divinity within. So come across the horizon against his enemy, who shall not be rescued from me. That's interesting word. Like, I got an enemy that cannot be rescued from me. Most people are trying to run from enemies. So they're saying you signing up for the work. So as a mystic, you don't run from adversity.
Right.
You're not seeking to live in the mountains or run and live in exile, because some people be trying to do that. Oh, I need to be in the mountains. I need to just live there. Like, no. You are here to live in the world, to face adversity, but to restore balance. Once again, you're not here to run. You're here to live in the world, face adversity, and restore order. That's what it means to be a successor of the deity. Some people got it twisted with their religion and their spirituality. That's what it is that we're here to do. You're here to endure. You're here to endure the BS, but to face it, master it, and restore order. Because if you don't do it, who will?
Right.
That's why evil is prevailing in the world, because people are running and they're waiting for some outside forces when we are the limbs of the deity.
Right.
So you're supposed to be so about it that those who work against you will soon need rescuing from you. So you hear little games, people playing, throwing juju and throwing roots on each other. Like, if you're really connected and you haven't sinned against any deity, they're going to be in trouble.
Right.
So it say, I have not sinned against any deity, any principle of life is going to be on my side. So even the Christians say, when you're with God, who could be against you?
Right.
They also say in the Bible, enemies come against me one way and they leave 7 ways. Let's go on.
I have stretched out my hand as the Lord of the crown of Upper Kemet.
I have stretched out my hand as Lord of the white crown of Upper Kemet. The crown of Upper Kemet was the white crown. That's the one that looks like the bowling pin. Mm-hmm. So that in metaphysics and spirituality, that represents the connection. That represents the horizon, the connection between your consciousness and higher consciousness. But let's look at it. I have stretched out my hand as Lord of the white crown. So as the one expanded in consciousness, I lifted out my hand. Hand is Yahweh. Hand represents action in spirituality. Action is RD. RD is another word for karma. It said, so all of the actions are based on divine principle. See it again. I stretched out my hand as Lord of the white crown. So I stay contemplating. Remember, mystic, I stay absorbed with the divine. But I stretch out my hand as that's meaning all of your actions should be based on divine principle, not your beliefs, not your personal beliefs, not your opinions, and not your feelings and your emotions.
Right.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
So that represents my head is in the heavens, but my feet are firmly placed on the ground. Let's go to the next one.
I lifted up my legs as one who hurries the dawn.
I lifted up my legs as one who hurries the dawn. Lifting up the legs means it's a like metaphor taking long strides, like marching, like I'm up in a place. So it's talking about confidently and competently accepting any and all so-called dangers and challenges on this so-called spiritual path. Once again, I lifted up my legs as one who hurries the dawn. Remember, the dawn is the consciousness coming into your consciousness, meaning like I'm about it. I'm going to it. I'm not running. I'm not being discouraged. Because to be honest, it's not always safe in spirituality, just like life is not always safe. It's not always light and love. So people have these lofty terms and these they have these lofty terms and expectations when they get on the spiritual path, like it's always going to be good. And in a sense, it's always good if you can know how to put it in proper perspective. But it's not always safe. Some people you see lose their mind. You see certain people go through some stuff. Certain people you thought should have been protected or had some type of divine grace and actually going through it. And it gets you questioning. You're like, yo, what's this about? You got spiritual people always squabbling with one another. You be like, damn, if these people are so spiritual, why are they always going through what's all the personality conflicts? So religion and spirituality gives you codes, it gives you morals, it gives you ethics, it gives you protocols of behavior. Right. So before you could get to the light and love thing, you got to learn to be civil. Right. Because clearly light and love ain't everybody's natural way of being for whatever reason, because you allowed yourself to be influenced by other people's cultures, interpretations upon you. You got your baggage. You've got negative experiences from friends and family. All of these things got you confused with who you are and who you're not. So that's why religion means to tie back, to bind back. I mean, you done gone astray, you done run amok, and somebody or something got to pull you back in. And that's code. And that's morals, that's ethics, that's behavior. So we can't get to the light and love and holding hands in the sun till we've agreed upon what's appropriate behavior from one another. Or else you're just talking philosophy.
Right.
Go ahead.
My enemy shall not escape me.
Go ahead.
Indeed, he shall fall before me. He has been given to me and shall not be rescued.
That sums it up. My enemy shall not escape me. So it's implying some measure of pleasure in having an enemy. Like, nah, you ain't going nowhere. Like, nah, it's on. You came. I'm here for it. I live for it. My enemy shall not escape me. It says, indeed, he shall fall before me. So just because things is happening is looking like it's going against you, remember, you need the adversity to awaken the Heru principle. So it's there to lose, but it's there to give you a worthy challenge at the same time. He has been given to me. That means it's been divinely ordained. So in that sense, all is a blessing. It has been given to me and shall not be rescued. Example. So it's like you look forward to a worthy challenge. He has been given to me, meaning you go through what you go through as an example of how to demonstrate your divinity. You go through what you go through as an opportunity for you to demonstrate your divinity. You go through what you go through as an opportunity to demonstrate your truth. Or else you're just a philosopher. So in closing, there's a certain measure of boldness that this legacy imbibes you with. There's a certain level of boldness that life itself is going to require of you.
Yeah.
Life is not for punks. You're a punk if you're one of the ones inclined to complain about life, because it's just telling you you got to have adversity to qualify to be the divine being that you say you are. So life is going to require some type of boldness. I'm looking out the window now. Today's an excellent day. Yesterday was an excellent day. What comprises proper weather is stress. They're always talking about cold fronts and warm fronts. The combination and the contrast between cold fronts and warm fronts and other elements defines what constitutes to be a beautiful day. So everyone likes the summer, but every day in the summer is not the same. Every day is not 98 degrees. It could go from 98 degrees, then it'll drop to 84, then it'll drop to 74. There's a thing as a nice sunny day, but then there's this thing as a nice rainy day also. So what we're talking about is warm fronts, cold fronts. That's pressure, that's stress. Light, the weather is doing its thing, and we've learned to appreciate it. Life is doing its thing based off of pressure and stress, and we learn to appreciate it. White folks is doing their thing based off of their nature, and we learn to appreciate some of the things that they've done too. We benefited off of their technology. Now, finally, do you know who you are and what you're supposed to do, or are you waiting for something to happen? So I'll close up on that.
Dua nata. Yes. Iker. All right, everyone. I want to thank you all again for joining us. I hope you got something out of the amazing message that Naswt shared with us this afternoon to inspire us and to motivate us to stand up to the adversity in our lives and become the Heru of our own story. If you find something in the message that benefited you, we welcome a donation to our continued work. You can send a donation on Cash App, $ Temple of Anu, or on PayPal using our email address, templeofanu@gmail.com. We appreciate and welcome all of the donations and love, gifts that you all give in reciprocity for the energy that we share with you today and always. If you cannot give a donation at this time, that is okay as well. As previously mentioned, we will be back in this space in 2 weeks. It's going to look a little bit differently. We will not be on the couch, but we will be here in 2 weeks for our regularly scheduled communion, and we will share that with you all again via Facebook Live and YouTube Live as per usual, okay? And we look forward to continuing to share information and insight with you, and we appreciate all of your support. Dua nata.
All right, Dua nata.
Show me what's up, everybody.
I'm just reading the comments.
I know. Just sit all curious what y'all was talking about. Okay. Show me what's up, everybody.
This Hebrew Israelites.